Testing. Test. Test. Okay, everyone, welcome to another week. Welcome back to EECS 298. And congratulations on finishing your homework number 3. All right, homework number 3, we're making good progress. I want to shout out the 30 plus people I saw working on this assignment last night. So again, one of the cool things about the Google Docs feature is kind of like an online multiplayer assignment because I can see all of you looking at the document, and that kind of gives me a little bit of a gauge to difficulty. Like if we got 30 people working at 8 p.m. or so, let's see, yeah, about 8 p.m. the night before it's due, that's like, maybe I should make this stuff a bit easier, yeah? We try to, but difficulty is a really difficult thing to balance, especially when you have no data. You are our guinea pigs this semester, and so a lot of this course is going to change pretty dramatically next year based on how things go for you. Of course, that's cold comfort. Future versions of the course will be a lot more pleasant and a lot smoother, but that's not going to really help you out a lot, will it? So know that I really appreciate you taking this course its first semester. Like, that's a pretty risky thing to do. Y'all got some guts, okay? I think a lot of people waited until the second semester, but not you. So well done. Good for you. Also, a shout out to this particular person right here in the feedback. I won't tell you who this is, but you know if it's you. In the feedback, what are your thoughts? Good assignment. I did this from 1 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Sunday night because I'm a smart and wise person, okay? That's a legend right there. That's amazing. all right? Like, it's when you play the game and you choose like professional difficulty setting right away, right? I want this to be as hard as I can make it. And rock and roll, okay? What a legend. But I do recommend in general you try and not wait until the last minute for these assignments. These are not generally the most difficult assignments in the world, again, but they do take some time. And if you run into something that's really confusing, or there's a bug, or your Blender crashes, we had some Blender crashing happening last night, and some of the students were having a bit of a pain getting that finished, right? Raise your hand if you had a crash, like a really poorly timed crash, right, last night. It's like, dang. Actually, when that tends to happen, because it's happened to me a few times, usually there's not that big of a time loss. If you've done something once, you've kind of consumed a lot of the R&D time to figure out how to do it. You really can recreate it pretty quickly, usually. But the morale loss, right, the kind of spirit that leaves your body when a crash like that happens, like that stuff is very hard to replace. So you don't want that to happen. Remember, right? Save often and make commits. That's the whole reason. That's the whole reason we have this Git setup. That's the reason we use version control. Okay, so that we can make commits all the time. And if we need to, we can go back into our history. Right-click that button. Go back to our history. Right-click, and we can go and revert to those changes. Revert changes and commit. Okay, and so, whenever you have any little bit of progress that you're really happy with, go create a quick commit. Boom. All right, you're safe. Push that commit to make sure we can grade it, and you'll get the points later. Okay? So good stuff, good stuff. I want to also shout out that, my goodness, have you seen some of the characters and the models coming through Discord? My goodness, I'm only going to show one to you. But these models are crazy good, okay? I didn't see a single model in the Discord that I was disappointed with. Given that you are only in week 3, okay, you are making incredible progress, okay? So very, very well done. I saw this one in particular. This was Hillary. Is Hillary here? No? I think she attends online. This is indie grade and probably commercial grade as well. Like, you can find indie games online who have made a lot of money, and they have model quality and artistic quality that is around that. So it's super good to see. I want to show you this trailer for actually a fairly gory indie horror game called Nun Massacre. Okay? Have you ever heard of the indie team Puppet Combo? Okay, they are a very prolific, grimy B-movie, direct-to-DVD, back-of-the-store horror team. They make these really gritty, kind of crazy horror games that are shockingly scary, okay? Often a bit gory, okay? And they are extremely popular. All right, I'm going to show you this trailer, and I'm going to show you how many views YouTubers have been getting playing this game. Let's take a look at the trailer. This is Nun Massacre, and also take a look at the environmental quality and the character model quality, and ask yourself, could I do that? If I had not, a few hours, but an entire week, could I do that? I think you'll find the answer now is yes. Okay, let's take a look. Nun Massacre. Oh no, that is Corey. Okay, hold on. Here we are. Okay, You get this kind of B-movie, kind of grimy, low-budget vibe, but that's kind of the point. When you choose that as your art style, people and players will accept it, okay? And it's a very good fit for a team that is small and doesn't have a whole lot of time or budget. When you look at the character, this gives you a better look at the actual character model in the game, okay? And when you look at the character, it's a pretty simple character model, right? It has fairly simple kind of humanoid geometry and, you know, a little bit of extra geometry for like the hood, the nun's hood, and some of that, the coat. But a lot of the work here is in the texture and just giving the nun kind of these dark, empty, bleeding eyes does a lot of the work in creating the horror, okay? You could do just about everything here, and I'm talking you could make the environments. Look at these simple environments, right, with some basic texture work, okay? You could do the character model and the texture work there. You could do the face. You could do all of this if I gave you some extra time. But the thing you can't do here is what? What do you see in this shot right here that you can't do quite yet?
Geometry animation?
Bingo. This character has a skeleton. It has an armature. It has structure to the character that allows it to have animations, to do posing, to be interactive in a real-time game engine, okay? That is a chunk of knowledge you don't have that you are absolutely gonna get, okay, over the next 3 weeks. Over the next 3 weeks, we're gonna cover the topic of animation, okay? Because animation ain't easy. But I will tell you, you will absolutely be able to do animations like this. In fact, you might be able to do them this week, okay? So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. That's our main topic of the day. I'm going to do some demonstrations for you. They're not going to be very long. I think this is finally the day where I'll be able to give you half an hour just to do your daily model if you want to. By the way, today's daily model is egg, okay? And again, you can kind of read where we are. We're right here. The red text tells us we're right here. We're starting armature and key poses. We'll do animation, then animation 2, and then I'll tell you more about this in just a sec, but what is this right here? If you can make it through the next 3 weeks, what do you get? What is this? This is the light at the end of the tunnel, okay? This is that grassy, green, pleasant field off in the distance. This is a delightful 2-week break where you have the easiest assignment of the course. You just gotta 3D print a couple models, okay? That's it. A little bit of photogrammetry too, but it's no big deal. You are coming up on a nice long 2-week break that I'm hoping will kind of fit in with your midterm exam schedule. So hopefully, in a couple weeks when those midterm exams are starting to show up, you won't have to think about 298 almost at all, okay? I think that sounds kind of nice, but we'll have to see if it works out well for you. We also have our our film session in Stamps Auditorium. So we'll be watching Flow together. If you can make it, you'll get some extra credit. If you need to skip it, that's no big deal. You can skip it, no big deal. And yeah, should be a good time. So anyway, yeah, you are approaching a level of animation and art knowledge, a Blender knowledge, because this was made in Blender, where you can make millions of dollars, and I'm not kidding, okay? This is Corey Kenshin's Let's Play of it. Look at how popular this was. Only 22 million views, okay? Only 22 million views, right? Let's take a look.
I remember one of the first things you do, you gotta find a flashlight.
Where's it at? I can't see.
Here. Yep. What's that? Give it to me. Lighter? Oh boy. Lighter?
I'm not messing with that, man.
VCR, I need to skate.
Look at these objects. Look at these environments.
I don't know how to skate. I don't even remember how far I got last time. I'm a couple years older. I'm a lot stronger. More resilient. I don't give up. Y'all know my track record. What happened to Nakamonto? Huh? I had to record that game like, how many hours was that? Huh? Yep, don't jump in there. I remember, wait. If you jump in there. But you know what? Let me show the newcomers what happens when you jump in the nun's pit. I call this the nun's pit. See, I used to think you could make that little jump right there. Boom, jump over there. Nope. And this what happens. You miss. Okay, so the lights turn off, right?
Okay, yeah, anyway. Yeah, so you can get a feel. This is a visceral game, all right? A very visceral game. You don't have to make a gory game to do very well with this level of animation and art skills. Okay, so another cool thing. So the topic of sharp edges is one that we didn't really cover, okay? And if you're curious what we mean by sharp edges, I saw a Reddit post that kind of goes over this a little bit. Have you ever seen any of these? So you're looking at a model's geometry and you see these kind of colored lines on some of the edges. Sometimes it's pink, sometimes I think it's blue. Have you seen any of those? So you wonder kind of what is that? What is that for? Well, you can actually select an edge and you can right click and you will see an option that says mark as sharp. I think that's about what the option says. So you can define some of these edges as being sharp, but what's the point of doing this? Well, we didn't really have a homework problem on this topic, and part of the reason is that our homeworks are long enough as it is, and we have to kind of be careful with what we put on them. But what happens is this, okay? If you subdivide your mesh, the subdivision modifier is going to make some assumptions. Number one, if you take this kind of lo-fi arcade machine shape, this very simple geometry, and you put a subdivision surface modifier on it, it's going to add a bunch of subdivisions and a bunch more detail, but it's also going to take all of your edges and it's just going to smooth the heck out of them in a way that just kind of ruins the shape of your arcade cabinet, okay? Like I'm talking down here, the bottom of the arcade cabinet no longer even looks stable. Looks like it's going to roll over, okay? Now, the difference here, right, is over on this one. If you go into your mesh and you mark certain edges as being sharp, like the ones on the bottom, the ones on the side, the subdivision surface modifier is going to treat these edges much differently than it normally would. It's going to try and keep that sharpness on those particular edges. It won't try and subdivide them or give them a bevel. Okay? And as a result, you end up with a vastly superior outcome than if you just kind of use the subdivision surface modifier just raw without any marking of sharp seams, okay? I've heard that marking sharp edges can also be relevant when it comes to UV unwrapping, which you got some experience with on the last homework, but I haven't done a whole lot of that myself, so I can't really attest to that. Okay? In any case, if you're ever confused about this kind of thing in the future, like what are those strange things for? A reminder, right? This is a place where AI could be useful, okay? In Blender, one of my models has an edge that looks pink, whereas the other edges, blah, blah, are grayish or normal. What does this indicate, and what is the usefulness of it, okay? Be very specific with your prompts like this, and boom, right there, it's a seam. It's something that got marked as sharp, okay? And it will kind of explain some of the ramifications of this, all right? I know AI is not everyone's favorite topic. It is not my favorite topic, but when it comes to your learning, you really want to understand where it is proving useful and where it is proving not so useful. Okay, and so make sure that you can run, but you can't hide. So make sure that you are trying to understand these new things and new technologies as they come up. You don't have to like them or embrace them, but you really do need to understand them. Okay. All right, textures and UVs just finished. It had 13 problems, and from what I'm seeing in the feedback, it was one of the kind of shortest and smoothest assignments we've had so far. We did try and make it a little bit easier, so hopefully that worked out. You have now homework 4, armatures and key poses, okay? This is your next homework. It's due in 7 days. And whereas the previous homework had 13 problems on it, this one has 11. Okay, so as we go on, the problems are becoming a bit more involved, but there are fewer of them, okay? And so hopefully you will continue to keep kind of a good normal pace. Hopefully it won't take too long. Hopefully you will enjoy this assignment because I think it's really, really fun. Taking characters and actually getting them out of that T-pose is what gives them personality, what gives them life, okay? And so I hope that you will enjoy this assignment. We'll see how it goes, okay? All right, so any questions on anything so far? Questions on the homework, questions on the course? Okay, rock and roll. Armatures are one of my favorite topics in Blender, and I don't think they are that hard. Okay, I think they are awesome. I think they're fun. I don't think they're that hard so long as you are doing things at an indie level, which is what we are kind of trying to do, okay? However, Savannah XYZ has an amazing video on spooky, scary skeletons in which she thinks these things are quite, they have the potential to be quite frustrating, and this video will give you a hint as to why. Okay, let's take a look.
Score up to 60% off at Michael's lowest prices of the season. Art supplies are on sale. I can't wait to see your feet. You must decide. Spooky, scary, trusting me don't fall. You'll put your hands inside. What shaking your soul. We must make you skeletons for you to believe. But Mr. Hubert teaches us the laziest way. A spooky, scary skeleton right from frame to frame. All the most annoying part is we put them to shame. Just can't do all the work for models to deform. Trace meridians, bones, hierarchies, and reset your transformers. Spooky, scary skeleton, one sentence and breathe. There's scarecrows and evils that bring you to your knees. This is what
An absolutely amazing video. And again, Savannah XYZ was fairly recently a 3D art student. When I see some of these amazing animations, I hope that some of you will really love this stuff too, enough to just keep going and make your own cool stuff, okay? In this video, right, there are a lot of criticisms of skeletons and how they're kind of difficult to manage. But again, if you are dealing with these in kind of indie or beginner grade, if you're targeting a kind of a beginner grade quality level, which is what you saw in Night of the Nun, okay, or Nun Massacre, we can do a very, very good job there without too much pain, okay? If we aim for that beginner indie level of quality, then skeletons, armatures, rigs are actually pretty easy and they're super fun. By the way, when I talk about skeletons or armatures or rigs, these are all synonyms for pretty much the same thing. Okay, and you'll see these terms used interchangeably. In Blender, they are called armatures, but I believe in other prominent programs like Maya, 3ds Max, they are called something else. Okay. And so let's go ahead and keep going. UVs are probably harder, as the video points out humorously. I'll also point out this video was meant for October, and so everything in here has to be scary and intimidating just to fit the horror vibe of the video. Okay? This is what we want. We are tired of having T-poses where our characters are just kind of sitting there full of potential, but they're actually statues. They've been frozen by Medusa, okay? And they can't do anything. Well, no. Now we are finally going to start injecting life into our characters, our models, make them do things, all right? And that is really exciting, okay? So here's how it works. This is Link, all right? You're looking at the geometry of Link, and this is kind of the final result here. And this is what is actually moving and changing under the hood. This Link model is pretty high def. It's pretty high res, right? It's got a lot of geometry. It's a fairly complex model. And you do not want to be clicking and dragging. You click a vertex, press G, drag it over. You do not want to be animating by just moving each vertex one by one. It's a huge pain selecting vertices, especially on a high poly model like this. It takes a long time. It's very imprecise. It's very easy to put a vertex in the wrong place, and then things look really weird, okay? So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use and take inspiration from the human body, okay? How do we move? Well, we've got muscles that cause our rig, our own armature, to move, and then everything that is bound to that, all of our skin, all of our flesh that's bound to that bone will move with the bone, okay? There are much fewer bones than there are vertices, so we would really like to manipulate our characters via these bones instead, okay? And when you put them together, you get a pretty good result that looks just like this. Okay? And that's kind of what we're going to be doing this week. Not so much the animation. The animation is going to come next week and the week after that. We'll spend 2 weeks on it. This week, it's mainly about creating these armatures, creating these bone structures, and then getting them manipulated just right into a cool pose. Okay? Get enough poses together, and what do you have? Okay? Do you know how this was made right here? I'll show you in the homework, actually. This animation, I'll also show you my attempt at it, because what you're looking at here is actually my friend Lourdes de Castillo. She does an amazing job. She's a professional. I'm not. And let me look here. What is an animation? Does anyone know? Can anyone define it? Yes. A sequence of poses. Okay, so this week we are going to be working on, let me see here, where is our reference? New bone, here it is. Okay. This week you will be working on how to get characters rigged up with an armature, a skeleton, and how to deal with some issues that arise when you do that. And then you'll also be working on how to get them into some specific poses, right? Victory poses, failure poses, action poses, right? And some running poses. And if you get enough running poses in just the right format and in just the right order, what do you have? You have an animation at that point, okay? So you will be making your first run cycle this week. Would you like to see my 12-minute attempt? Okay? You're not going to judge me, right? Okay? Now, this took about 12 minutes. A quick detail, most animations look better if you speed them up because the detail, right? The detail is where this animation really falls apart. And this animation needs root motion. If you look at this animation, one of the big problems with it, this is really a topic for next week, but one of the big problems with my 12-minute engineer animation is that Link never, his core never moves. Okay, have you ever seen the chickens where someone's holding a chicken and you move the chicken's body and the face is just perfectly stiff, right? It's crazy. Well, this is what we have, except Link shouldn't be a chicken. If this were a chicken, this would actually probably look a lot better. Your brain wouldn't be complaining about it, nearly as much. Why did this go to the other page? This is supposed to be on the top page. Come Come on. There we go. Okay, back on the right page. Now this text is messed up. It's course design problems. Here we go. Just a moment. Okay, there we go. It's fixed. So this week, you will actually produce your first major animation, and it's going to look like it's your first week, and that's totally fine. Okay, we don't want you to spend much time on it. But next week is when we're going to really focus on making better animations, learning the animation UI a little bit better, and learning how to combine animations so that you can get something much more like this. Okay, and so this week we're mainly focused on dynamic and cool poses and getting our T-posed characters to these interesting poses, okay, and creating the armatures for them, okay? This is going to start 3 weeks of animation. It's a very difficult topic, okay, but I actually think this homework won't be too bad for you at all. This week we're focused mainly on armature design. Next week is going to be basic animations, and the week after that we'll focus on artistic quality. Okay, this week, right, characters in stiff and static poses, and we will also be trying to figure out how to deal with some issues that arise when you create an armature. For instance, right here, Mario's shoe and heel, okay, have accidentally been bound to multiple bones. The root bone in the center down here on the bottom, as well as the bone in his heel, okay? Creates a really weird look when you go to animate him or pose him, and so we got to know how to fix that, okay? Bone weights is how we fix it in this case. Next week, we'll focus on creating basic animations and how to make those look a little bit better. And after that, we will focus on artistic quality, okay? What do I mean? Look at these two animations. Look at them one at a time, okay? Both of these animations show a jumping ball, but one is a little bit more appealing. One gives the ball a bit of character, a bit of charm, personality. Makes it feel like it really exists in the world, okay? On the left, we just have a ball that just kind of goes up and goes down. It still has some personality. I really like this kind of hang. See how it hangs in the air? It's like just desperate, just hanging on. Doesn't want to fall. Hey, hold on, right? I love it, okay? So it still has some personality in my opinion, even the one on the left. On the right, okay, I mean, which one do you like better, okay? I think most of you will say the one on the right, and a part of that is that you can see the effort the ball is putting in. It actually does some squash. It doesn't just elevate into the air. No, it kind of leans into it, builds up some energy, and then jumps up, right? And then when it comes down, right, it releases that energy and it kind of wiggles a bit. You can also see how it kind of stretches like this when it has more of that vertical velocity, okay? It's a little bit more cartoony. It's a little bit more in-universe. It feels good. It feels like a character. And it's just a ball, okay? Another good example of this actually is a portfolio website. So this is my website. I haven't updated it in a long time. But on the website, your cursor becomes a fish. It used to be that you could, kind of like my online games, you could see other people, you could see their fish as they swam around. But watch what happens as the fish goes back and forth, back and forth. You can see the fish kind of stretching, okay? We take the X scale of the fish and we make that a function of your horizontal speed, okay? And so that causes you to get kind of this nice cartoony effect. It's a little bit hard to see in this video, but if you go to it yourself, it'll feel a little bit better, okay? So artistic quality, this is one of the few times in the course where we will talk about things that are kind of purely artistic, okay? Not just a technical topic. And so this will hopefully help us improve our animations a good deal, okay? We don't have to get this level of quality, okay? But we want to put some time in and improve things where we can. And in particular, that run cycle is going to keep coming up because that's one of the hardest animations that almost any character in a game or film will have to have, okay? So we want to get a little bit of practice with that every single week, all right? And then what? Like we said earlier, after that, you're going to get to take a nice 2-week break, okay? You're going to have 2 weeks to do some basic 3D printing. Not going to be very hard at all, and I hope you'll have a good time. It was super fun when I did it over the summer, okay? So, skeletons, all right? Armatures, rigs, okay? What exactly is the point again? Okay, do we actually need them? I want to take you through a little bit of the history of 3D animation, okay? So vertex animation was kind of the initial way to do animation in 3D. And in early 3D games like Crash Bandicoot, we brought this game up a couple times in the course, you can really see the appeal. Okay, in this game, you have a very low poly, small character, which means that manipulating the vertices frame by frame is actually a feasible thing to do. And this is what Jason Rubin, the U of M alumni, did. So Jason was the main artist at Naughty Dog in the early days, and he created pretty much everything that you see here, as far as I know, and he did it by hand. Okay, and so let's take a look. Jason Rubin, yes, a Wolverine alumni. Yeah, I should try and get his number someday. Wouldn't that be cool? Get an interview. That'd be awesome. Maybe he wants to come back. That'd be super cool. Let's. I'm going to show you the stage, and take note of the characters that you see and how the characters deform, how they animate. It's a little bit subtle, but take a watch. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's a little bit subtle, and due to the low resolution, it's a little bit hard to pick up on. How would you characterize the characters in this game? Cartoonish. You can kind of tell that from the character design. It's all you need. But how do they move? Yes?
Boulder Bear lunges forward, and it looks like it's really close, but it's actually moving pretty slowly.
Yeah, the movements in this game in general are extremely diverse. Okay, you've got characters spinning, you've got this polar bear who's just going for it, right? Very visceral movements. I personally, it's hard to see, but when Crash is running, I love how he looks back, okay, on occasion. And also, his head is constantly bobbing up and down because he's running, but his nose has this really satisfying delay on it, okay, as well. Very, very expressive and very cartoony as well. His eyes, right, are these gigantic eyes that kind of move their shape, right? They're super huge in this level to express that fear that he has, the fear the game designer wants you to have during this really, really cool stage, okay? The cartooniness of, you can kind of see it here. See how his eyes are really, really big, right? He is always morphing in these ways that normal humans can't, and that makes him feel like a living cartoon. In the death animations, you can get a really good feel for why the vertex animation is powerful. I will tell you, on the PlayStation, in early 3D games, actually, I was reading some documentaries about this, some history about this. When Crash Bandicoot first hit the screen in the early PlayStation days, people thought it was fake. People thought it was a tech demo, okay, a concept, a proof of concept fake rendering, okay, because it looked so good. And no one else could figure out how to do this high level of quality on the PlayStation. Do you know why? No other team on the PlayStation could get this level of personality, juice, detail, okay? Because a lot of the other teams were using skeletal animation. Okay, they were using a different technique. This right here is kind of the equivalent of old school hand-drawn cartoon frames, okay? With these frames, you had to take every little pixel and you had to draw every little pixel, okay? Of course, they weren't pixels back then, right? You were drawing on some sort of canvas, okay? Kind of like this. As a result, you are not really limited. You're not constrained. You can make characters bend and go crazy and morph, okay, and do things that no human could really do in real life, all right? Maximum expressiveness, but this was also maximum labor cost. As time went on, Jason Rubin did not have enough time to do all these diverse animations for every character. It just took way too long, okay? And so, what to do? A lot of teams looking to get more bang for their buck, okay, looking to move faster, used skeletal armature-based animation. Okay, this means defining a skeleton, binding geometry to that skeleton, and then using the skeleton to animate. But there was a problem. Early skeletal systems were awful. Okay? Crash Bandicoot, you just saw the footage. I'm going to show you another very prominent game from that era that uses skeletal animation. Have you ever heard of this game, Tomb Raider? Let's take a look. In particular, watch the animations, because I'm going to ask you how you would characterize them in just a sec. Let's take a look. Okay, what do you think? How are the animations different than the ones you kind of see in Crash Bandicoot? You can tell. Can't you tell that it's using a skeletal animation system?
It felt a lot more grounded, but it felt like there was actual bones they were trying to perspective.
Yes, the movement, right, feels a lot more grounded, a lot more stiff, okay, a lot less cartoony, which for this style of game, it's kind of hard to tell, but this style of game was going for realism back in the day. Okay, it's meant to be less cartoony, and it definitely gets that effect. But a lot of people also describe it as looking kind of not very charming. Okay, not very, full of character and personality. I want to show you another example of this skeletal animation. Okay, this is Resident Evil 2. Watch how the zombies move, and watch how the main character moves. Let's take a look. What do you think?
about the same.
Yeah, it's definitely a more realistic approach, right? But you can feel that stiffness. For what it's worth, I absolutely love the way these games look. They kind of fit their games pretty well. But you can tell when it comes to doing a more cartoony and exaggerated and high personality style, Vertex Animation still has a lot to offer, okay? If you're going for a more grounded style, then skeletal animation in the early days was your choice, okay? And it did come with some sacrifices, all right? So eventually skeletal animation ran away with it and won. It is the main way that you're going to do most of your animation, even if you are doing cartoony characters these days. Why did skeletal animation, what we're going to be learning the next 3 weeks, why did it win over Vertex? Yeah.
The technology eventually make it easier to modify grander models and stuff.
Yes.
Models that a lot more vertices.
Yes. So 2 main things that are kind of what you're saying. Number 1, oh my goodness, it was vastly cheaper, okay? As models got higher and higher poly, it became more and more unrealistic to take each vertex and position them exactly how you want it. It just became infeasible. And so skeletal animation became the only way to have higher geometry, more complex models, while still getting some animation out of it. And number 2, and the most important thing, is that skeletal animation got vastly better than it used to be, okay? That stiffness that you saw, and I think it works well on those PS1 games, that stiffness is gone these days, all right? I want to show you what modern skeletal animation could look like, because that's what Crash Bandicoot uses these days. Skeletal animation, not just its vertex animation from the early days. Okay, let's take a look. And again, watch the characters and how they animate and how they express. Okay, this is to say that these days, modern skeletal animation systems, modern armatures, they support a lot of the old features of vertex animation. They give you some ability to do things like squash and stretch and get a lot of that personality and charm back, okay? This is to say that you kind of get the best of both worlds, and you're going to be able to do some of those things in your work in Blender using armatures, okay? So some extra use cases. With armatures, we can give more information about our characters to our game engines, okay? To our various technology packages. One, physics, okay? If you look at our characters on the EECS298.com game, you can see that you can get a lot of physics, okay? By basically defining different bones on different parts of a character. For instance, dynamic hair. Do you know how this is done? Well, first, you need to create the armature that supports that. So if you see the underlying armature, you actually have bones that go into the crown, but you also have bones that go down the hair as well, okay? If you look at the physics of the dress as well, right, attire, things like capes, often what you'll do is you'll actually create a bone chain, multiple of them that go down different sides of the dress or the cape, and the more you have, the more expressive that's going to be, the more realistic it's going to be. In a game like Batman, you might have something like this. This is actually from Arkham City, the Arkham City game. And this actually doesn't use bones. I think it uses like a particle system, I was reading. But this kind of thing can absolutely be done with those dynamic bones as well, okay? And so you will find yourself when you are in the second half of the course and you're trying to get these cool physical effects going on with your characters, you'll find yourself kind of thinking about, okay, where do I need to place my bones and how many do I need? If you're trying to do hair and you have only like 2 bones, what's going to happen? You're going to notice this when you move. What's going to happen? Yeah, it's going to look like the hair is like a piece of cardboard, okay, or something with only one link in the center of it. It's going to look really bad. So you need a bunch of them to create that smooth movement, okay? So you have to start making some choices about your armature in the second half of the course, but you'll be able to do it. So what I want to do, what I think I want to do is I want to take our break now, just slightly early, and in 5 minutes, we're going to come back and we're going to go into Blender. And I'm going to show you how to make your armature from scratch. I'm going to show you how to create like a worm character and even how to animate it really quick. And then I'm going to show you how to do armature stuff in like an actual humanoid character, going from the T-pose to something else. Okay? So let's do it. And I'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay? See you then. I'm super looking forward to, I've been geeked about seeing your models come in on Discord the entire semester. I can't wait for these crazy animations I know you're going to do, okay? I cannot wait. This is going to be so much fun, okay? But remember, don't let your peers get you intimidated, okay? Don't let them get you feeling down, okay? Because some students are putting like 5 hours into a single character. I'm like, I didn't ask for that. But they're doing it. I'm super happy you're doing it. But you don't have to do that, okay? Put in the time that you're comfortable with. You do not have to put in all that crazy time if you don't want to. You don't have to have a gorgeous result. You can all do better than this, okay? But you don't have to get full points, all right? Okay. Music. Oh, here we go. Timely. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, we talk a lot about art in this course, about 3D visual art, but music is so important, okay? Music is the key to the heart and soul of your film or game, okay? It is the fastest way to the emotions of your player or your viewer. This song from Resident Evil 2, the game we were just watching for the PlayStation, is the song that plays when you enter a save room. This is the only room in the game where you can save your game permanently, lock your progress in, and you can heal. You are protected. Your items are there. Sometimes a helpful character is there. And the music, listen to this music. It is trying to calm you, but at the same time, what vibes do you get? You've got this calm instrumentation, right? The melody is calm, but there's something in the air. What is in the air?
There's still something out there.
There's something out there. The mission is not complete. You are not safe yet. You've got a long way to go. There's this tension in the song that's just incredible, right? You are safe for now. And that's the magic of music, okay? The magic of music. Anyway, I think maybe we should create a class for video game interactive music someday. But I have no idea how to do any of that. I can barely 3D model. I don't have any musical production knowledge. So that's going to have to be someone else. Okay, go ask Pat, some of the Pat professors to make that course. That'd be awesome. We do have Professor Thompson's wonderful video game music course. But you don't do a ton of production in this course. You just kind of study music in games, but you don't really do a lot of your own production. So anyway, kind of interesting. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to actually get in and I want to show you what it's like to create a basic armature. And I'll tell you right now, I want to create a super cool worm character, okay? I want a worm character, you know, sometimes these are enemies or NPCs maybe in video games. But here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to create myself a little cube. And actually, you know, this doesn't look like a worm. We can go ahead and grab the top and I can just make it a bit longer. And now we've got ourselves a worm, okay? But this doesn't really look a whole lot like a worm, does it? I'm going to show you, we're going to need to have some geometry. Okay, we're going to need to have some geometry. When you want to have a character deform, you need a lot of geometry that's going to support those deformations. I want my worm to be able to wiggle, but look at this. I only have a few vertices I can make wiggle. How would you create a bend right here? You couldn't. There's no geometry here to support it. So what can we do to create more?
Edge loop.
Bingo, edge loop. Exactly. That's right. So let's get in here. Let's just create some geometry, a nice good bit of geometry. I think that's enough, okay? And we can add more later if we want to. Another thing that I'm going to do really quickly is I'm actually going to grab all of these edge loops right here because this worm is looking kind of square to me, looking kind of like a building worm. So actually I'm going to grab these edge loops. I'm going to hold Shift to add to my selection and then Alt to select the edge loop. I'm going to go, what is it again? Shift bevel, I think. Oh, it's Control B. I was going to hit Shift B. Okay, so we got this bevel going on. I wanted it a little bit smoother. That's cool. Okay, I like that a lot. Looks good. All right, and actually we can smooth it if we want to as well. I don't like the way that looks. Okay, back to low poly. So what I want to do, I want to bring this geometry to life. We've got plenty of geometry to work with, lots of good vertices in here, okay? And now here's what I want to do. I've got my one object that I'm going to call the worm geo, okay? Worm geometry. And now I need to create an armature. An armature is its own object. It's not something that you add to an existing object. It's its own object, okay? So I'm going to hit Shift A, and in my menu, we've got the meshes, but we also have, let's see, where did it go? There it is, an armature, okay? And I'm going to create it, and where'd it go? What? It's gone. What's going on? Where is it? Maybe the program is glitched. Yeah? No. Actually, if you mess around a little bit, and that's what I recommend, if Blender's doing weird things, mess around a bit. You can always Control Z out of it or return from a commit. Look at this. It was hidden. The armature object was hidden underneath my geometry. This is the first thing you always got to remember to do. Okay? And it's easy to forget. You got to go and click on your armature, and you need to go down to this little data. This little data thing, this little green bone character down here. And then you have to go mess with the display settings. That's what we're angry about. We can't see the thing. So go to display settings. There's this little checkbox that says in front. And now the feature is actually usable. Okay? Does anyone know or have an intuition as to why this isn't the default? I want to go into Blender source code, change the default, and make that a pull request. Yes?
Probably for just purposes, you just want something there and it doesn't want to render everything. That's not rendering.
You think it could be too busy?
That's my theory, just because they don't know what it is, so just general purpose response at the end, let's not just clutter up the entire screen.
I think this just destroys beginners, this kind of bad default, okay? Because they try and spawn the armature in, they don't see the armature, they give up, the program's a mess, right? So anyway, you do need to always remember to go to in front. Now, the armature is its own object, so I can click on the object, my worm, I can click on the armature, and they're different objects over here, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the armature, okay, right to the bottom, the root of my worm. Okay, this is a good place to start. I'm going to go into my orthographic mode. This is going to make this really easy. And I am going to go into edit mode, not on the object, my worm, but I'm going to go into the edit mode on my armature. Okay, I'm going to hit edit. You can see edit mode right up here. Now we are actually editing this armature. We can mess with its various little ends here, okay? But what I want to do is I want to create more bones. And a really good, quick way to do that is via extrude, right? You've seen extrude before, but only in the context of geometry. So here we're going to use extrude in the context of an armature, and it's going to work exactly the way you would hope. I'm going to press E, like I just did, and we're going to get another new bone that comes out of the previous one. And I can just keep creating this wild bone however I want. That's really messy. I'm going to hit E, and I'm going to hold Control. You see how it's snappy? It's snapping around. And this gives me a lot of control to kind of keep my bones sort of similar to each other, kind of uniform as I go up quickly this worm. I'm going to go all the way up the worm until I'm happy and I've got most of my geometry nearby a bone, okay? This is the end of our simple armature creation, right? So Savannah XYZ creates the awesome video about how scary these armatures are. They can be if you want to do complex things, but in this case, it's not that scary. That's it. We're kind of done. So what we want to do here is we want this worm to deform based on how this armature is posed. When you click on and select a normal piece of geometry, a normal object, if you go up to object mode and look at your options, we have edit mode, we have vertex paint, weight paint, texture paint, all the usual suspects are here. But if you click on the armature, you'll find you have different options. Yes, you have edit mode, just like the geometry, but you have a special new mode, a special mode called pose mode. Pose mode allows you to grab these individual bones and actually change and rotate them like this. We can take our bone structure and we can actually start manipulating these bones and posing them into this cool little wiggly shape, right? Okay, that's kind of neat. You can't grab them at this point, okay? But you can rotate them. So I'm going to Control Z a lot and get this looking normal. When I pose my armature, I want this worm to go with it. But the worm is not changing at all. They are two totally separate objects at this point. So a question, how do we bind them? Okay, I want to bind this this geometry to this armature. Two different objects. I return to object mode. Here's what you do. Do you remember how to parent something? Right? Did the homeworks have a question on that? Right? So normally, right, you've got an object, a cube right here, and you've got a second object, and maybe this is like a sphere or something. Wait, where's my UV sphere? There it is, okay? Okay, what could this be? I'm gonna guess this is like some eyes, okay? This is some eyes, some really big, like anime eyes, okay? So if I want these two eyes to move with the cube, when I move the cube, I need to parent these eyes to the cube. So here's what I can do. Click first the things that you want to be the children. So I want to parent this sphere and this sphere to Control click or Shift click, and then Control P this object, okay? And now, if you see, the cube has two spheres underneath it. When I move the cube, the eyes move with it, okay? That's exactly what we're going to do, but with these objects instead. So I want to parent this geometry object to, hold Shift, click, this armature. The order you do this really matters, okay? You always want to parent things to the armature. The armature is always at the top, okay? So geometry first, then Shift click the armature, then Control P. When you do this, you're actually going to get some additional options. Blender will recognize via context. Everything in Blender is so contextual, isn't it? It notices you are parenting geometry to an armature in particular, and this option right here is going to be the one you're going to use a ton with automatic weights. Okay? When we click this, it's going to look like nothing has changed. Nothing has changed except for the parenting situation. Now, under our armature, we can see that our worm geo object is there. And if we move the armature, the worm geometry moves with it, as you'd expect from a parenting relationship, okay? But if we go to our armature and then go to pose mode, what we will see is that when we bend, oh my goodness, is that awesome or what? Okay? We now have this like, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like Luxo Jr., the Pixar, right? The Pixar lamp. That should have been one of the questions on the homework. Maybe it will be in the future, because I haven't finished homework 5 or 6 yet. But remember when the lamp like looks at you and turns its head? This reminds me of that a little bit, right? You can kind of like turn it on the, what, y-axis? No, the z-axis? There we go. It's like that. Yeah, it looks a little bit spooky, huh? Okay. So why is our object deforming like this? Why should it do this? Well, if you look carefully at our mesh object, you'll notice something peculiar. If you go to the modifiers tab, you remember modifiers, right? That was like 2 assignments ago. The modifier tab for this worm geometry now has an armature on it. This armature is the thing that is causing our worm to actually deform. And in fact, it has been configured. The object we're deforming with is this armature right here, okay? So this should make sense. It's using a modifier to deform itself, okay? So this is kind of cool. Now imagine that I want to have this really cool little animation where the worm is like kind of looking around like this, right? It's looking for that player character because it wants to attack that player character like a good enemy, okay? So how are we going to do this? Well, one thing that I can do is I can go into these bones and I can kind of use what's called forward kinematics. You start at kind of a root bone, a deep bone, and you rotate them and you manipulate the bones one by one. See how I'm moving forward to the end, and then I've got this little bone on the end, and I can make it look over here or look over here, right? Actually, I should probably do the looking kind of out here a little bit more, like that, right? Okay. And that took a while, and it didn't feel that good. It's kind of annoying. What you're going to find is that manipulating a character in this fashion is kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to show you something that's kind of cool, okay? Have you ever heard of inverse kinematics? The homework is going to tell you a lot more about this, okay? But inverse kinematics, let me see if I can find it really quickly. Here we go. So inverse kinematics is part of the way that you do that running animation. But right here, if you look, I have the bone for Link's heel selected. And when I manipulate that bone, all the rest of the bones up his leg will automatically bend and deform to make that pose work, okay? Same thing with the arms for Daisy down here. All I have to do with inverse kinematics is grab the wrist, and I can kind of manipulate it into place, and the elbow will do sensible things. Here, I have to do the annoying old approach where I just kind of start at the shoulder and then just go and get all the bones ready down the entire arm. It's kind of slow, it's kind of painful, okay? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go into my final bone, the one I wanna be kind of grabbing and manipulating, and I'm gonna go to a new tab you've never used. I'm gonna go to Bone Constraints, and I'm gonna add a bone constraint. There are a lot of constraints here, okay? A lot of constraints. And one of the most common is actually limit rotation. Do you know why this is here? I want you to look at the bone in my arm right here. So I'm in so this is a T pose, this is an A pose. So this is the Y pose, okay? And if you look at my arm, there are a couple things my arm can do. Mainly, it can do this. My bone can do this. Can my elbow bone go right? No. And you can actually add constraints to bones like that to prevent them from doing things like this, okay? In this Link footage right here, I used to have a problem, I got rid of it, okay? There used to be a problem where you got this Link model, and it started with Link having his knee just broken, flipped the wrong way. Very painful. The problem was literally called ouchie, and you had to go in and add bone constraints to prevent this from being possible so he can't break his legs anymore, right? I got rid of that problem, and I'll leave it exercise for the reader as to why. But I'll go to add bone constraint. I'm instead going to go to tracking, and there's an inverse kinematics bone, okay? And what I can do is I can start clicking this chain length, and I can add it to a number. I can now grab this end bone, and as I press G to move it, look at all the other bones. It is just so easy, and it manipulates and deforms in a way that's pretty natural, okay? I can make it look over here. Look at that. Is that cute or what? You over there? No, you over there? Huh, where is he? Huh? Ah, yeah, okay. I think that's just super cute. What I actually want to do is I want to put it into an animation, okay? And I think I might mess this up actually, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is, because remember, I'm an engineer, never forget that, okay? So I'm going to click down here on this auto keying button, okay? And I'm going to click. And now any change that I make is going to add some data to our timeline. It's going to add a keyframe to our timeline. So if I come down here and I move my little worm a tiny bit like this, okay, I just added a keyframe. You can see this yellow little thing right here. So Blender is going to remember, right, this exact rotation and position and scale for this particular bone. Now, I'm going to move my timeline to frame 20, and I'm going to kind of bring it down here now, And when I let go, you see another yellow little notch has showed up here. We've got another keyframe. I can prove this by scrolling between the two now, and we get this really nice interpolation, okay? So, interpolation. And what I can do is I can say, well, you know what? After I come here, I want to maybe come out and I want to kind of look over here. Huh. All right? And then after that, I want to look down here. Huh? And then over here, I want to come up here, kind of look. Huh? And then over here, I'm going to come up and huh? And then I want to go back to my original frame. But how can I do this? This frame over here has all the data I want, okay? But it's way over here, and I want it over here, okay? What can I do? Well, these frames, you can treat them like vertices on a model. I can select them, I can click them, I can drag them, I can select multiple at the same time. I can hit G and look at that. I can manipulate them. I can even hit S and I can scale them, okay? I can do whatever I want. I'm going to grab this initial frame that I want so badly. I'm going to Control-C, copy, Control-V, paste, and it pastes right under my little frame, okay? So, wait a second. Why didn't it go back? Hello? That's not the right frame, is it? Let's see here. I can hit X to delete it. I'm going to turn off the auto keyframe, and I'm going to grab this. I'm going to try and put it back here. What on earth? Why isn't it going back? I want to call up Lourdes and say, why isn't the animation working? You know what I'm going to do now? I'm actually going to go and I'm going to just move it back myself. Okay? Like this. It's kind of twisting. That's not really what we want. Let's do this. Try and kind of get it back into shape a little bit. Maybe like this. That's... I don't know. Oh, it's bending the wrong way. Okay, let's see here. Can I get it bending the right way? Maybe. There are ways to do this, but I have to put a tiny little notch in like that. Okay, so, oh, that looks really good actually. I kind of like that. Okay, so what I want to do, let's go ahead and play this animation. If I press the space bar right now, I'm going to turn off auto keyframe, and I can make my armature go away by clicking this little hide icon, make for a better shot. And let's go ahead and press the space bar and just kind of watch it. Ugh. That's kind of cool, isn't it? But one tough thing is that after we get done here, just keeps going. Our animation, if you look at the timeline and click the right bone, ends at 120, frame 120. So I'm going to go ahead and enter 120 as the end of my animation. I'm going to press spacebar, and I can just kind of watch it repeat, okay? Okay? So there's a little bit of a snap at the end, but otherwise this looks kind of cool, okay? So there's another thing that I want to do. You notice here how this, the frame doesn't really hold. I kind of want us to get to this pose where we're kind of looking forward, stay there for a bit, and then quickly go, stay there for a bit, look down, look down, look down. I think it will be a more cartoony feel. I think I can do this by grabbing this keyframe and duplicating it, okay? So it'll just kind of chill there for a bit, and hopefully it won't do much of anything. We'll see though. I don't know if that's actually, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the animation. Let's see here. Can I just get this out here? Maybe a little bit longer, like that. Let's see what this does. I'm curious. Okay, come in here. I also want to go in, and I'm going to go into the graph editor, and I'm going to grab some of these. I'm going to change the interpolation mode. Let's change this to, actually, let's change this to constant and see what we see, if we see anything. No, okay, this animation is doing something a little bit funky. I'm going to have to figure it out later. But you can see that we have kind of a basic animation going on, and it didn't take that long to do, okay? As far as creating poses, we had that done super quickly, which is kind of neat. So what do we want to do now? Well, I want to show you that you can do more than just kind of grab and manipulate and rotate these bones. You can also scale them. So if you want to have a worm that starts off very tiny but then gets bigger, you can scale these bones up if you want to, and you can create quite a strange shape, all right, like that. Now, oh my goodness, that's kind of cool, isn't it? Now it kind of looks like a, you know those like little, the viewing hole, the viewing device on the top of a submarine, right? It looks like if we put an eye texture on the end of this, it would be like a classic cartoon where the villain's in the evil submarine and he wants to look up and find the good guys, right? And so the little thing comes out of the submarine like, what? Over there? What? This kind of animation where you've got a character just kind of looking around is a really good idle animation for when the character is standing around and not running around or moving. Okay, very, very common. In fact, if you go and you look at the EECS298.com web game, I think both characters have this kind of thing. Let me see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. Hopefully it's not too laggy, right? So this idle animation that we did for Peach basically just has her, and her bones are kind of behind her back, her arm bones, right? Kind of that like regal feel, that regal vibe, and she's just kind of looking around and investigating the situation. I think with Prince Random, you have something a little bit similar. He's kind of looking around, and then he gets bored after a little while, and he just kind of, right, kicks the ground, right? And this kind of stuff is extremely effective, okay? All right, so that's a good start to our kind of basics here. I also want to show you what this is like on an actual humanoid character. All right, let me see, did I cover stuff? Pose mode, IK, geometry, connected and disconnected, parenting, automatic weights. Yep, looks good. Oh, I think the last thing I want to show you is what happens when you do that bind. So here we have Daisy, and if you look through this model, and this is one you'll get on the first, the homework for this week. If you scroll through the timeline, you'll actually find that she already has a handful of animations in here for you. This is just a running animation, one frame of a possible running animation. This is a jump up, okay? This is a falling down, right? When you're going down, you transition into this pose. This one is like a freaked out pose, and then this one is a dynamic action pose, okay? So when you want to go in here, basically you want to find a place on the timeline where there is no keyframe, and that is where you can go in and start going into pose mode and adjusting your animation, okay? You can go in and start messing with bones. If you turn on the little auto keying, it will store that in an animation, a keyframe automatically. If you don't have this on, then you need to remember to make an adjustment like this and then press I, and that will insert keyframe storage for that change you just made. If you don't remember this, guess what's going to happen, okay? You can do this animation. So what kind of animation should we do? Okay, let's do like a big kick animation. So I'm going to bring this leg up here and extend it like this, right? So a big like WWE kick or something like that, all right? Cool animation, you work super hard on it, or not an animation, a cool pose, you work super hard on it. Guess what? If you adjust the timeline even slightly, you just lost all your work, okay? If you make even a tiny change, okay, and you go into edit mode, you accidentally hit tab, okay, your character's back in the T pose, and when you go back, you've lost your pose, okay? And so you want to be really careful about this. We're going to have a lot of students lose a lot of work to this. I recommend just turning on the auto keyframe. Try and remember to turn it off later, or you could get blown up. If you accidentally leave your timeline on an existing frame that has keyframes, you will overwrite the existing data there, and you'll lose some of the poses you actually want, okay? But in any case, let me see if I can show you something, okay? Can I go and can I find, where's my object? Where is my vertex groups? Where are you? I got to get over here to the actual object. Let's go to this object. Let's go and find the vertex groups. I think it's right here in data. Okay. Let me see. Where are they? Where are they? No, no. Okay, let me see. Vertex groups, shape key. Let's go to weight paint, okay? So over here, let me see here. Yes, there you go. So right here, you can see something strange, right? So Daisy's torso area, this object has kind of taken on this strange shading. What's happening here is we are being shown which bones of the armature influence which vertices of the object. So if we look up here, it's really hard to see, but look here. We are currently focused on a bone, a vertex group called neck. Now this vertex group corresponds to a bone that we can find. It's under head, I'm guessing. Can we find, well, it might not be, it might be under torso. Yeah, it probably is. Maybe? Let's actually find out. So I'm gonna go to object mode, gonna go to my vertex. Let's go to edit. Let's click on this. Where is this object? Armature. I think it's going to be low torso, up torso. There you go. There's the bone right there. It's under the armature object. So I'm going to go to this torso object. It's going to go to weight paint, and it's showing me, hey, these are the vertices that are highly impacted by the movement of this tiny bone in the neck. When this bone moves, all of these vertices will move with it. However, the vertices down here, where you see this green coloring, will move a little bit with it. And the blue down here will not be affected by this neck bone at all. If I change my vertex group, I can see that now we are focusing on this up torso bone that is right here. This is the upper torso bone. And I can see that, you know, the kind of geometry in like the gut area is a little bit affected. But up here in the upper torso, this geometry is super affected, okay? And down here, barely any effect at all. What I could do to mess with this is I could actually go in and I think I can paint. Let me see, can I paint the strength in here? I think maybe, let me see here. I think there's some things I have to do. But in the homework, you will actually go in and you'll have to fix some of these paintings. You'll have to paint and fix these weights, they're called, so that certain bones do not influence certain other parts of the mesh, okay? This is a very common issue, and this is the kind of issue that I showed you a bit earlier, right here, where some of the bones in this mesh are affecting geometry that it should not, okay? So when we try and pose this leg, we got a bone down here that's affecting part of Mario's shoe that is just ruining the entire thing, okay? So you're gonna be going in and fixing that using the weight painting mode. You'll finally get to use this mode and to do some interesting stuff, okay? And then low torso. And if we want to see the other bones for the other objects, like in the hair or the face, we can click on that. We can go to weight paint, and we can start to see all the bones like in the hair. Lots of bones in the hair that affect different parts of the hair, okay? This bone affects this area. The head bone right up here, this bone affects all this stuff in front, a little bit of the stuff in back, and all that stuff, okay? So our models are getting a bit more complex, and in particular, we are now starting to add metadata to these models, okay? We're adding these objects that the user never sees. It doesn't affect the visuals, but it does affect our ability to manipulate the mesh and get it to do things that we want it to do efficiently, okay? And so that's the kind of thing that you're going to be doing this week on this homework, all right? And yeah, I hope you really enjoy it. There's a lot of room for creativity here. You're going to encounter a lot of interesting meshes. One I'm really excited about is, let me see, where's the fan gamer? Does anyone remember this animation? They'll be doing a little bit of that. Fan gamer is down below. You will get to grab any existing model that you want from the internet. You could grab a Sonic model, right? You could grab any model that you want. Someone name a game for me that you played, that you like. Yes?
Fossil Fighters.
Fossil Fighters. Is that like a DS game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that game. Let's go to the models resource and see if we can find anything for Fossil Fighters. Maybe we can't. Fossil. Okay. Fossil Falls, Dinosaur Nest, Fossil Fighters, Heroes Trophy.
Oh, no,
That's not it.
Technically, this is just.
Oh, it's just different game.
the infamously bad one.
Oh, okay. Fossil Fighters 3D Mesh.
I don't.
Oh,
It exists.
okay. You can go to Sketchfab as well.
It's under model resource.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, if you scroll down. On third one down.
Third one down. This one?
Next one right down. There.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Cool, okay. So you're going to get the chance to go and find any mesh of your choosing. This could be from a film. This could be from a game. This could be from the model's resource. This could be from Sketchfab or anywhere. You're going to get a chance to go and grab whatever character you've always thought was cool, and you're going to go in and you're going to give them a rig, and then you're going to create some cool poses that you would typically find in a game. Okay? You're going to see these kind of poses all the time. Running, jumping, attacking, victory, some sort of failure pose. Because these are the poses you will need to have for your final project at the end of the course. Okay? That when we bring things into Unity, they're going to work correctly. Okay? So we want to get you used to making these kind of animations and poses. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious what kind of characters you'll choose. Yeah, I hope you have fun, okay? So does anyone have any questions on this topic? Yeah, sorry it was a little bit sloppy. I got a Celsius out there. You're not supposed to bring a drink in here. I got a Celsius out there, number one, because I see all the students drinking it these days. It's like very popular. I think I was up till like about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. again last night, just scrambling to get the lectures finished and the next homeworks. I think are going to be really cool. I'm actually bringing in Lourdes, who did some of the animations for my indie game, so you'll actually be able to see some professional grade animations. Again, this running animation that you saw of Link, where is it? Huh? It's toward the end here, isn't it? What? Did it disappear? Fangamer IK. No, it's up here. This is me after 12 minutes, and this is Lourdes, her work after like an hour. Okay? So pretty good. This little thing clipping through Link's shirt is not her fault. It's the rig. But this looks really pretty impressive. Okay? So we will have a professional chipping in as well, and maybe we'll interview her toward the end of the course to see what her life is like. She, have you ever heard of this? It's a very obscure series. It's this Nintendo property called Metroid. So she worked on the Metroid Dread game in Steam. Now I think she did some animation and she did some Q&A on that one. But so maybe we'll talk to her at the end of toward the end of the course, okay? But anyway, okay. So I will give you got 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes. I actually saved you the 30-minute block this time. I hope you will use it to do your daily model. Today's an egg, okay? Look forward to seeing those. Everyone have a good time on this assignment. Let me know when things get a bit rough so we can polish it a little bit. If things are confusing, ask questions on the Discord. That's how I find out what is confusing and what I need to fix. And otherwise, yeah, rest for a couple days maybe, and then get this homework started, okay? We'll see you next time. See you on Wednesday. Have a good one.
Oh my god.
Okay, take care everyone. Bye-bye.